My husband, 31, and I have been married for a few months. It was a long-distance relationship, and he only met my parents/family a handful of times. Usually when my family visits, I cook their favorite meals, and my husband does not like any of those meals. He always complains about not finding something to eat, despite my offering to include his favorite meals. He'd usually sit with him at the table out of politeness, but only eats appetizers, salad, and nothing else. My family noticed and asked about it, and he said he didn't like what was on the menu. He also complains that I keep leftovers for days later, and I don't cook till I consume leftovers, of course, while he eats fast food. My family planned to visit today. I prepared their favorite meals and all, but they called me in the morning and apologized for not coming due to family issues, which is fine. Everything cooked was placed in the fridge. I told my husband and he wasn't thrilled and said, "Great, now who's going to eat all that unwanted food?" He asked when I would cook, and I said when the fridge is empty and there are no leftovers. He made a face and exclaimed he wouldn't eat fast food for the next few days. Later, I saw him taking the trash out, which was earlier than usual, but I didn't give it much attention till I went to grab milk from the fridge and saw all the containers that had the meals I cooked earlier empty except for one. I immediately confronted him, and he said the food smelled funny, and there was one container that smelled kind of fine, so he left it alone and threw everything else away. I blew up on him, calling him nuts and unreasonable to throw away edible food and let it go to waste, just because he wanted me to cook fresh meals that he likes. He argued that I shouldn't be cooking my family their favorite food every time and just have them eat what we usually eat. He said that he was so tired of eating fast food until I was ready to cook again. I told him I wouldn't be cooking again after this stunt and that he needed to deal with it after throwing away money and energy I spent on the food he threw away. He said I couldn't blame him because my family chose not to come and they were the ones who wasted my efforts. I refused to argue further after I said he could have told me to send the food to my family instead of throwing it away. He apologized for not asking me first, but he still says I went overboard by saying I won't cook for him again. He just left to meet his friends to vent, and I'm still upset over what we both said to each other during the fight. I should add that the food I cook is Asian. My family is from Asia originally, while my husband is American. I learned to cook his favorite meals, but he has never been open to trying and cooking by himself, saying it's never going to work and he'll never make a single decent dish. He said cooking just isn't his thing and called it a lost cause. Not the idiot. You might have rushed into getting married a little quickly. The fact that he decided to get rid of food you made and would eat because he didn't like it is a huge red flag. He threw it away because you said you wouldn't cook any more food until the food in the fridge was gone. He turned your words. So getting rid of the food is a major idiot move. He knew what you meant and now is forcing you into cooking for him. I can't imagine living with someone like that. Can you get an annulment? 'Cause darling, you married a child, not a man. It's one thing not wanting to eat the food available, but throwing out all of the food your wife just cooked just because you didn't want to eat any is wasteful and childish. You do not need a child as a husband. If he doesn't see the problem here, he will probably never see the problem in his actions and not improve. Not to be rude, but why are you married to such an idiot? He's an idiot for the way his attitude skyrockets by the presence of your family and, in my opinion, phenomenal Asian food. It's totally fine if he doesn't like Asian cuisine, to each their own, but to be so opposed that instead of making himself a fried egg sandwich, he'd maliciously waste your perfectly good food just to make a statement? He didn't think it smelled funny. That's a direct insult. He is saying the food you make, the food from your culture, smells funny, period. That's an absolute insult if I've ever heard one. Take a step back and ask yourself, any other red flags in this situationship? Not the idiot, but divorce immediately. He fundamentally does not respect you, period. His stunt was nothing short of a terrible power control tactic. He has options other than fast food. He can learn to cook. Many meals are basic and easy. He isn't the victim. Seriously, he was beyond out of line. This is not about the food itself, and it's absolutely going to get worse. About a year ago, my dad approached me and told me that he, my stepmom, and two half-brothers were thinking about moving to a new state. I had 50-50 custody, and asked him what it meant for me. He said that he would pay for me to come for every school break and every other holiday. I was mad at him and told him that he already gets to spend all his time with my brothers and doesn't want that with me. And it was difficult for me with 50-50. And now he wanted to move and leave me. He told me he didn't want to leave me. And I told him that if he moved, I would refuse to see him because he would show I was worthless to him. I told him if he forced me to come and didn't respect my wishes, I would make life hell for him and his wife. Anyways, it has been 10 months, and my mom made me visit him once, and it sucked, and I had to sleep on the couch. I refused to go back, and my dad texts, calls me every day, and I do not respond. My stepmom recently called me screaming and said I was breaking my dad's heart and was a cruel daughter. I told her she was overstepping my boundary and never to contact me again. I think my dad deserves this, and I was very clear with my intentions if he moved. My mom said I was too hard on him, and my stepmom has yelled at me. So, am I the idiot? You're still a child. Your dad told you a year ago that he was going to move to another state to be near your stepmom's family. He had 50-50 custody of you. So he literally ditched you for his new family. And he made you sleep on the couch at his new house. No bed for you? I believe you are not the idiot. I'm so sorry your dad left you because his new wife wanted him to move. That is just messed up. I don't blame you for not wanting to see him. He made his choice. The couch is the worst part, I think. If he had attempted to talk to her and make her feel special, loved, and wanted, even from interstate, that could have worked. He could have bought a house with a room for her, set it up nice, and done a heap of holiday-style activities, especially for her and him. Instead, she has to sleep on the couch. No way. 50% custody, and he doesn't even have a bed for her? The mom is the idiot as well, for pushing her to see her dad. Not the idiot. Your stepmom wanted to move to a warmer place so she could be nearer to her mom. Ignore your stepmom. Clearly, he did pick a side. If he wants to spend time, let him come over. They did not have space for you and made you sleep on the couch. Clearly, he hasn't put enough thought into the whole transition. He is giving in to whatever your stepmom wants. If the argument was that he had a job that could not be found in the state you live in, that is not the case here. Everyone's the idiot here. Your dad absolutely should have given you your own room, or at least a bed. But this whole story reads as very bitter and angry. Cutting your dad off completely doesn't seem to be about protecting yourself, but punishing him. By all means, don't go back, but you can at least talk to the man. It seems from the little I've read, and I feel like a lot is missing, that he does love you and wants a relationship. I, 19 female, come from a wealthy family. Even so, I had a job since I was a teen. My parents got me a car, but I had to pay for my own insurance and gas. I had a limit for how much my birthday and Christmas gifts cost. When I graduated high school and was accepted into a good college, my parents gave me a choice. I live in the dorms, they pay for everything. I get just a bit of spending money, but they won't have a say in my life since I'm an adult. Or I live in a 2-bedroom apartment they own in the city. Doorman, gym, pool, and cleaning service. They pay for everything and I have more spending money. In exchange, I have to promise to keep a high GPA, no recreational drug use, no alcohol until I turn 21, and no roommates. Then when I'm a junior, the deed to the apartment is transferred to my name. I accepted the second choice and it has been great. I'm an introvert, so I appreciate my space. The problem is that a friend I made at the beginning of the semester wanted to move in and I declined. She comes from a middle-class family, paying for her school using student loans, just normal. The first time she was over, she started making some tasteless remarks. Must be nice never to work a day in your life. Must be nice to have mommy and daddy wait on you hands and foot. When she wouldn't stop, I just started distancing myself from her. She's been having problems with her roommate from the get-go. But yesterday she just couldn't take it anymore. She asked me in front of all of our friend group if she could move in with me. I said no, she can't. She called me an entitled trust fund baby who didn't know the normal man's struggles and stormed off. Now all my friends say that I'm the idiot, that I have the space and it wouldn't cost me anything. I could lie to my parents and they wouldn't know. I disagree. But I thought it better to ask because they don't give it a rest. I plan to cut them all off. I don't need that kind of negativity in my life. Not the idiot. You're 100% correct in that you don't want to betray your parents' trust. Your friend is jealous because she sees everything harder for her and doesn't understand your situation. But her manipulation would suggest that she's not a good or real friend. And I'd question the people that are pushing you to lie to your parents. She refuses to treat you with respect now. It's not going to get any better if she moves in. If your friends are so worried, they can move her in with them. And besides that, you have an agreement with your parents. They pay for your housing. You don't have roommates. What do your friends think will happen when you break that rule and your parents find out? Because they will find out. Not the idiot. Your friends are, though, all of them. All of these people expect you to 1. Lie to your parents who are your parents and are very generous, loving, and guiding with you. No. Number 2, jeopardize your future? Hard no. Anyone else's problems with your roommates are not your problem, and I guarantee the one asking is the one who is the problem in their current situation. I love how these types of people shame you for being a trust fund baby, but want to take advantage of you and love that you have the means when they want something. Users are what they are. Keep your solitude and drop the idiots. Get your degree and enjoy your life. You don't owe any of these people anything, and neither do your parents. I, 23 male, have been dating my girlfriend, Jane, 21, for nearly a year. We go to separate colleges about 40 minutes away from one another, but we still see each other multiple times a week. I've noticed that she always prefers to come to my apartment in a small town, rather than me visiting her at her apartment. When we talk about family, she is always very reserved and tells me that she's not close with hers. As far as friends go, I've met a great deal of her high school and college friends that all seem average. Now, she's always presented herself as a broke college student and will actively say that fact whenever money comes up and laughs it off. However, I've noticed over the months that despite saying that, she refuses to eat fast food. She likes going on impromptu mini vacations, which by her standard are just staying within the country, but are by no means cheap. And she drives a car worth over $70K. Last night we met up with a few of her childhood friends to shoot pool. A few of them noticed that I drive a Tesla that I just bought brand new this year. It's my pride and joy, and I admit that I've done quite well for myself over time and building up my income. Here's where the red flags start. They all called her by a different name, rather than the name that I and all her friends I've met before call her by. They were calling her something else completely. These friends were also foreign, coming from Brazil, Spain, Ivory Coast, etc. Eventually, while talking about my car, a Brazilian girl named Camilla asked Jane if she intended to ask her father to buy her one. Jane just shrugged it off awkwardly with a maybe. It became glaringly obvious that all these childhood friends came from extremely wealthy families throughout the night. So I asked Jane how she met them. She said they went to school together overseas for a while and went to summer camps together. Jane also spoke to most of them in languages other than English, mostly French or Spanish, and that's what they all seemed to know besides English. After we left back to my place, I asked her what the deal was, and she said that she does come from a well-off family, and the name that her friends called her was her actual name. She just went by a more common one when she came to our state, because it was easier for people to pronounce. I felt miffed that she had been lying about her source of income for what seemed like years, and that she had a lot more money than she had let on. I asked her if I could look at her Venmo, in which I see regular deposits from her father, ranging from $400 to $1,000 weekly as an allowance. I called her a trust fund baby and told her that she's a liar for pretending that she doesn't actually have money when she clearly does, and that she's just masquerading around lower classes and likes looking at how we all live. She got extremely upset with me and left, and is still refusing to speak to me. Am I the idiot? Sorry, you are the idiot. Many children of rich people avoid talking about their wealth because it becomes a thing, and people insult them with names like trust fund baby. The whole reason people with money avoid talking about it is to avoid it being made a big deal of by people like you, and avoiding people who are only there for the money. Her money is none of your business. If you were married, fine. She should say something. But dating less than a year? Nope. Yep, OP is just jealous because he thought he was a big shot, that she'd be impressed by his car and money. But there is always somebody with more money, a flashier car, etc. And when OP realized she grew up around wealthy people, he couldn't handle it. Clearly she chose him for other reasons, but OP is too insecure to recognize that and instead lashed out at her. I hope she dumps him. Exactly this. And I will add that OP screwed himself hard. OP manages to find a sweet girl, and she likes him back. And bonus, she is super wealthy. In the love game, he won the jackpot and still managed to lose it all. Ha ha. OP, she lets you look at her Venmo, an act of transparency, and you used it against her. Your behavior is precisely why well-off people sometimes keep it quiet. Masquerading around lower classes and seeing how we live? Are you serious? Dude, you're the red flag / double life here. On what planet can a lower class 23-year-old college student afford a brand new Tesla? You aren't lower class, dude. Get off your high horse. Maybe you're just oblivious to what the lower classes means. But either way, you are the idiot. 38 male dad here, and I have 2 daughters. Amy, young teen. Ava, teen. And my wife is the same age as me. So my wife has a younger brother, my brother-in-law. Let's call him Mike. He's around 32. He's an okay guy. My wife likes him because that's her younger brother. So today in the afternoon, my daughters and I were chilling at home in the living room, just watching some TV. Then my wife comes in and she says, "Kids, Uncle Mike is going to come visit. Go put on some pants." That's what they call him. My daughters like wearing shorts around the house because it's comfortable. And as a father, I don't have a problem with that, especially here in the Florida heat. Before I go into what we all discussed, I will say this. My daughters have told me that Mike has given them the creeps before, and often he's made them uncomfortable before, and they don't feel comfortable around him. So since my daughters have told me that, I told my wife that he isn't welcome in our house if our kids aren't comfortable. My wife at that time didn't believe me, I guess. She just ignored it, you could say. Now we come to what we discussed in the living room. Now my daughter said, "Ugh, why is he coming? And why do we have to wear pants around him?" My wife said, "'Cause he's my younger brother, and he's your uncle, so you better respect him. And you do as I say, so I'm your mother." I told my wife, "Babe, the kids told me before they aren't comfortable around Mike, and this is their house, and they're free to wear what they want. You can't force them to change into pants, and they don't want to. They're comfortable in what they're wearing, and it's fine." My wife got upset and told me I was an idiot for not letting her brother come to our house, and that I was being mean and just judging him because he's an innocent guy. But I know, though, what I did was good for my daughters, as their safety is my #1 priority. But I also feel some guilt. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. Your wife told them to change out of shorts into pants because he was coming over? But sure, he's not creepy at all. Wife doesn't want to admit it, or is blind and sending her daughters the wrong message. Don't make girls change for men, because it teaches them that men's poor behavior is the woman's responsibility and how she dresses. Not the idiot at all. I don't care who you are. If you make my kids uncomfortable, your butt is banned from my house. And what kind of misogynistic nonsense is your wife spouting about them having to wear pants? If they can't wear shorts around him, that is a huge red flag. They have every right to be comfortable in their own home. If her brother can't be around his nieces because they're wearing shorts, that's a warning flag. If your daughters have said they don't feel comfortable around him, that's a warning flag. The fact that your wife is going out of her way to make your daughters change their clothes not to trigger her brother is very bothersome. Your wife may love her brother, but that doesn't change the fact that your kids don't feel safe around him. Your wife can visit with him someplace else. You are not the idiot. Trust your gut. Trust your daughters.